This is the Bob Terzula designed custom knife factory Eagle Rock, and it is one of my favorite knives of the 2023 year. So happy to have gotten one of these in my hands. This is almost a complete win of a knife. There is one thing that I don't love about it, and I'll talk here in a minute on what that is. But first, let's get some specs out of the way so you know what you're dealing with. This is a very large knife, 4.5-inch blade. You don't see that often nowadays. Almost 10 inches overall, 9 3/4 inches overall. It is a very long knife. It's not super wide and it's not super thick. I mean, it's got some width to it, but it is very, very long. Let's do a weight on here. It is surprisingly lightweight for how big it is, 6.6 ounces. I would have expected maybe 10 ounces for a knife this large. And that is because of the materials they use and all the skeletonization they do. There's a lot of skeletonization in these titanium liners, and then of course the carbon fiber. This particular version has an S90V steel blade. It's got a dark acid stonewash. You can see the Terzula logo right there. Look at this cool fuller running up the top here. You've got thumb disc deployment on the blade. Look at this blade though. Compound grind, flat on both, but much shorter width on the grind back here than up front with this nice drop point. Look at the swedge on top. It almost has a harpoon type look to it here. Just like a very subtle harpoon right there. Beautiful blade. Now, if you're not familiar with Bob Terzula, he is the godfather of the tactical knife. He has been around for a very long time. He is alive and well currently and is still operating in the knife community, but his contribution into the world of knives is arguably one of the top. He is known for inventing the tactical folder, which is very, very impressive. Moving down, we've got titanium bolsters with Damascus pivot collars right here. Here is the custom knife factory logo, titanium backspacer, titanium liners, beautiful red carbon fiber, black hardware so they don't stick out, lanyard hole, mill titanium pocket clip. Tension is really, really good. Not super deep carry, but not too bad. It's running on multi-row bearings. It has a steel insert on the titanium liner, so that liner is not going to stick and it's not going to wear out on you. You can deploy this knife 3 different ways. With the thumb stud and your thumb. You might be able to get away with a reverse flick. I struggle with it. I can do it sometimes, but it's a little bit awkward. It has a cutout here, but you can see it doesn't have an actual shape removed. So it's kind of hard to get to. You can see how that disc doesn't stick out, right? It's kind of flush with that right there. Whereas on this side, you've actually got a cutout so you can get into it much easier. So the thumb deploy is my preferred method for deploying this knife. You also have a little flipper tab here that works pretty well as well. And then if you want to get real crazy, you can actually use this, see if I can do it, to front flip. I don't believe this was designed to be a front flipper, but if you are spicy enough and good enough, you can do it. I actually front flip it better when I'm not in front of a camera doing it sideways. So it can be done because you've got this jimping up here that you can get your thumb on and kind of flip it around as you saw right there. Ergonomics are fantastic. It's a very simple blade shape, very classic, or handle shape rather, very classic handle shape. So it fits in the hand really, really well. You've got this ramp with the jimping like I mentioned. Very comfortable, very usable, and look at the reach you get with that tip. That is just outstanding. Now, the only drawback to this knife, or the only thing I didn't love, is the detent is a little bit weak on this knife. Now, I have tightened it up at one point, but then it made it difficult to use that rear flipper because it's so small. So in order to flip it appropriately on the back, you kind of need that detent a little bit lighter, or else you will just be sliding off of this thing. I still sometimes slide off of it, even with the weaker detent. Now, the benefit of the weak detent is it is extremely smooth and drop shutty because there is not a lot of pressure being put on that blade by the detent ball. So pros and cons to that. Now, it doesn't shake open, right? That's good. But if you give it a reasonable flick, it will open up. I've got it tuned pretty good right now. I think it's about perfect, in my opinion, for balancing strength of detent and the ability to flip it open comfortably. Now, this knife comes in a lot of different configurations, different kinds of carbon fiber, different blade finishes. This is the only grind that I'm aware of that's available, this drop point with the compound grind. The basic bones of this knife is consistent among all the different variations. You can just get different colors and different materials. This one is actually my favorite. I don't have any red carbon fiber. In fact, I don't think I've ever had red carbon fiber like this. I've had the fat carbon lava carbon fiber a few different times, but never this kind of classic weaved carbon fiber with the red inside. So very, very cool. Now you can get a replacement pocket clip that doesn't have the Terzula branding on here. I thought about it, but it was like $50 or $60, and I don't know. It didn't bother me enough to do that. And I feel that Bob's work is so important in the knife community that brandishing his name on a pocket clip is not the worst thing in the world. So the Eagle Rock, what a cool knife. I'm so glad that I picked this up. If you find one of these, I think you can still get them here or there at retailers. They're about to dry up though. But you can see them on the secondary market. People are selling them. Very, very cool knife, and one of my all-time favorites of the 2023 knife year. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Let me know down below, what do you think of this knife? Do you have one? Would you ever get one? And what do you think of the configuration that I picked out?